Hello everyone, I am Fola Shade Anozie and you are welcome to another episode of the SNC Podcast, a show helping people better understand the intriguing world of music, arts and entertainment through insightful conversations with African artists, creatives, lawyers, music and business executives. My apologies, I was away for a bit. I had to attend to some personal matters. But I am so happy to be back as we are getting close to the end of the year. I hope you are doing well and staying safe with all that is going on around the world. I keep on saying and telling my friends that there is so much going on and it just seems like moving to Mars is the next best thing. So I beg, if anybody has any plans on how I can make that happen, please let me know. Alright, jokes aside, let's just get into why we're here. So our guest for this episode is Ella Chikezie, an emerging multi-award winning filmmaker, writer and creative producer based in Lagos, Nigeria. Ella has over 4 years experience working with multinational brands as a copywriter and producer for TV and film commercials and documentaries. She's the past winner of the 2021 Home Vida Awards 1 million naira prize for her short film Crossline, a film she co-wrote and line produced. In September this year, Choke, Ella's first feature film as a producer, was released. The movie stars Nollywood luminaries Gloria Young, Kanayo Kanayo and Norbert Young, among others. The film is currently running at film festivals worldwide and was recently shown at the African International Film Festival, AFRIF, where it won the AFRIF Globe Award in the Audience Choice category. Ella is the founder and creative director of Fly Grade Media, a bespoke audiovisual production company based in Lagos, Nigeria. Hi, Ella.
Hi, Shade.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hoping that we're having technical challenges, and I'm really hoping that this doesn't continue, and I'm just, so I'm just like a little like annoyed and stressed, but I'm happy to have you here. First of all, I have to say congratulations on your first feature film, Choke. It's actually your first feature film as a line producer, right?
Yeah.
And you said that it was recently shown at the African International Film Festival.
Yeah.
And interestingly, you won the Audience Choice Awards.
Yeah.
And this is also coming on the heels of you winning 3 awards at the African International Horror Film Festival.
Yes.
First of all, I didn't even know there was an African International Horror Film Festival. Well, right. Congratulations on all the success. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very grateful because first of all, like you said, it's my first feature film that I'm line producing, and getting to this point very early in my career, like it's such a big deal, I just feel very thankful and I feel very happy too, because it just proves to me that, hard work really pays. So yeah, the fact that I'm getting all this recognition, I'm like, thank you, God. I see what you're doing for me.
That's amazing. And for people who haven't seen Choke, because it's out, right?
Yeah,
for people who haven't seen it, can you talk about what the movie is about and what did your work as a line producer entail?
Choke is a film that, addresses sickle cell in society, and it also addresses mental health issues. So personally, I am very endeared to stories, that deals with or highlights the issues in society. So the first time I read Choke script, I was blown away because it had that element in it, of course. And because of the fact that it was a psychological thriller, something that it's not really out there in Nigeria, in Nollywood. So yeah, I was very, very much drawn to the story. And being a line producer on Choke, my first feature film, my God, it was hectic. First of all, it's not easy to make films in Nigeria. Second of all, it's not easy to make a film with a budget, a tight budget. So yeah, I had these two challenges to work with, but I'm very thankful because I had people who were very supportive of my career. I had so many people come up to encourage me. Like when each time I spoke to vendors, I'm like, oh my God, this is my first feature film. I really want to do this. The fact that my producer, who is also my mentor, Mr. Chris Ode, the fact that he asked me to produce this film, notwithstanding that it was my first feature film, I feel like he gave me that chance, and I didn't want to mess up. I came with my A game. I put on my boots, roll up my sleeves, and say, let's get to work, talk to all the vendors, try to convince them. Because a lot of your job as a producer is to convince people. If you're able to sell your vision to people, then you have the right people on your team. So yeah, to an extent, I had very great supportive people on my team. We did have our challenging days, but a lot of the guys came through for me. So shout out to my cast, my crew. I worked with old Nollywood and new Nollywood, so it was just a fusion of, both worlds, the KOKs, the Gloria Young, Norbert Young. So yeah. And then Chimizi Imo, who is a fantastic actor, by the way. It was my first time, but I sure killed it. Yeah.
I'm always happy when I speak to people who are confident in who they are. You know your A game, and I love it. So congratulations on all the success. So again, you were explaining about as a producer, your goal is to convince people to come on board, right? Yeah. Is that specifically what a line, because what exactly is a line producer?
So the role of a line producer, first of all, in filmmaking, we have a hierarchy, just like in every system out there. We have the EPs, who are like the money bags, the one that bring the money. Then we have the producer, who are the ones who convince the EP to come on board. Like they source the story. And in most cases, the producers can also be like line producers, depending on the scope of the production, right? But the producers are like the senior producers, while the line producers, they are under the producers. So the job of the line producer, basically, why we call them line producers is because they're responsible for everything below the line. So in production, we have above the line and we have below the line. So below the line is where the crew comes in, the logistics, transportation, welfare, budgeting too. So my role as a line producer was to make sure that I manage time, which is the schedule, I manage the budgets, and I manage the people. Basically, I was in charge of getting my crew, assembling my crew. I was also in charge of getting my cast together, like trying to call them, convince them, all those are egg bones. KOK is a big man, by the way. It's not easy.
Major.
Yeah, so it wasn't easy talking to him, but he came on board eventually and spoke to my cast, convinced them on why they should be on the project. They read the script, the ones that wanted to stay. We did get no's because it was a very daring story.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. Because I feel like, a lot of times we see or we hear about these titles or this producer and like, okay, what does that really mean? Because one of the, I wouldn't say challenges, but one of the misconceptions that we have is for you to be in the film industry, you either have to be an actor or the director, but there are other roles and other aspects of the film business that people can get into. So thank you for breaking that down further. Hi, I want to share with you a little bit about the sponsor of this episode, Notam Expertise Nigeria. They are a promotional marketing and consulting firm based in Lagos, Nigeria. They provide tailored promotional printing services to individuals and organizations across various sectors and industries. I really like that they work with different types of clients, big and small. They actually helped me with the merch for the podcast. I remember speaking with the representative about what I wanted the t-shirts to look like, and they were incredibly attentive to my needs. You can actually check out our Instagram page to see what some of the shirts look like. What is also great is that they just don't do t-shirts. They also offer printing production services for materials such as face caps, pens, umbrellas, drinkware, and so much more. So if you are looking for a company in Nigeria to help you achieve your promotional marketing product needs, call them on 0803 257 7980. You can also find them on Instagram at Notam Expertus, that is NOTAMEXPERTUS. Now, in terms of your background, because obviously before Choke, Ella was probably, I don't know what you were thinking with your life. So can you just share briefly about your journey to becoming a filmmaker? How did that interest start?
Okay, so I didn't start out exactly to see myself making film. Like everyone out there, I wanted to be on the big screen. I wanted to be Genevieve, be Omotola and the rest. So when I was in university, right, I used to write. I had reading for the longest. Like, I love books because my dad made us read books as children, So I read a lot of books. I was immersed in the world of Chimamanda stories, popular hibiscus, Americana, and the rest. So even Hamlet, I read Hamlet as well. Big fan. So after reading, I would imagine, bringing this thing to life. Then there came like TV. There were soap operas on TV, Papa Ajasco, and the rest, Super Story, I can't miss Friday evenings, nights, yeah. So there was Super Story and the rest. So yeah, I kind of found myself leaning towards, from reading books, I kind of found myself leaning towards watching films. I would watch Hollywood films, all those blockbusters, and I was always curious, like, how does this happen? But interestingly, like every typical Nigerian parents, my parents felt that I was very bright. So they sent me to science class. Even though I would always sneak out from class to go from science class, agri class precisely. I hated agri. So from agricultural science classes, I would sneak out to go to literature class. And my teacher in literature class, she would always say to other students, she would call me out, first of all, to give recap on the last book that was read during class. And I would give the recap. I would be doing assignments and all that. And she knew I was a science student. So she would always tell them that, look at these science students standing out in literature class. Like she would, so I just had that love, that passion for stories. I found out I was drawn to them. So even though I read, I was in science class, when I got to university, of course, I had to take a science course. Today I'm a biochemist by certification, but I am a Nollywoodian, if there's a word like that, because I make films, right? So I think for me, getting into film was something that, metamorphosed from reading books to watching films, and then dreaming to be on screen, and then getting into film by writing, because I started writing scripts. Actually, Michelle Dede, she's an actor. She read one of my works on Instagram, and I had sent her a secret message 1 week before that time, like just telling her how amazing she was, and I was a big fan, And then she read this message, and she had come to Instagram. I wrote it on Facebook to her, sent her a DM, and she read it, but she didn't reply on Facebook. She came to Instagram, found me all the way to Instagram, came there, wrote a very long post of how my message had lifted her up at that time, encouraged her and all that. And from there, like, she told me that I had the gift of writing, that I shouldn't stop writing. And I was in 200 level in university doing my science. And from there, I started writing. It's one thing to know that you have a gift, right? No, it's one thing to have a gift, and it's another thing for someone to validate that gift. So at that point in my life, she was somebody that God really used, because I see it as God using her to tell me that you have this gift, just keep at it. And before you know, I started writing. From there, I joined the spoken word poetry group on campus. I became a spoken word artist. Shout out to my Word Phantoms crew. Yeah, I just had to do that, So I got into spoken word poetry, and from there, I started writing scripts. I remember my first screenwriting masterclass was with Victor Sanchez Agawa. He's a showrunner on African Magic series and all that. So Hush, that was one of his series. So I went for his masterclass, and then I met other screenwriters, established screenwriters. I mean, Mr. Sanchez is like a god in Nollywood, So getting to be in that class, seeing other screenwriters, from there, I just had this passion for, being behind. Now, I didn't want to be in front of the camera.
I was about to say, like, at what point did that shift happen for you,
So I wanted to be a part of the process, right? So I just found out that I was leaning towards being behind the camera, because I was always shy in front of the camera anyway. So, that's
if
how
I
I
brought this camera now, you know.
Oh God, I will run.
Are you serious?
All this voice will disappear.
No, don't worry. We're all a work in progress, but continue, please.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So, so after that training, I went home and I said, I want to tell stories, and I want to tell stories that addresses societal ills, that talks about social issues, that stories that people would love and they'll feel. At the end of the day, I feel like every storyteller's purpose is to make people to feel. Because if I watch a film and I don't feel something, I feel like you've done a bad job, So I wanted to tell stories that will make people to feel, and beyond feeling, act, very importantly. So so that was it for me, really. That's how I got vaccine. I got into it. That's my backstory.
That's amazing. And just kind of circling back to the movie Choke, talked about the movie is about sickle cell anemia. My father has sickle cell, so I can relate to. I haven't yet seen the movie, and I look forward to seeing it. It's in theaters, right? Is it?
Yeah, it was in theaters.
It was,
but it's coming to a platform real soon.
Okay,
a big platform.
A big platform. You can't discuss that now.
Yeah.
Okay, but as I look forward to seeing that. During the course of my research about you, one of the things that I noticed or that I thought was really amazing is that you're a multifaceted creative. You're not just into filmmaking, as you just mentioned. You're also an award-winning, or you didn't mention that you're award-winning, but you are an award-winning poet. You also have experience in copywriting and project management. Yeah. As someone who has all these different creative interests, how do you ensure that you don't let one fall by the wayside because you're trying to grow the other? Because it's the struggle that I have.
For me, well, I just think that although these are different roles, right, I play as a person, I feel like at the core of it, it's still about entertainment, right? Because copywriting, simply, writing stories for brands and maybe individuals, yeah. So it's still, I see myself more as a creative producer. Yeah, that's how, these days, that's why I call myself anyway. So because it's the same industry, it's linear for me. So when I'm not writing, because I have my writing season, right? When I'm not writing, coming up with budgets, I'm sending out pitch decks to EPs, or I'm sourcing for the right story. That's if I'm not writing it. So it's easy for me to manage that because I know when to, go back to the drawing board and tell myself that, okay, this is a season for me to just be inside, with my thoughts, sit with my thoughts, come up with that script, come up with that, this and that. So, but there are cases when, because I am a freelancer, someone wants a line producer or a producer for a project, so they're calling me at that point. So how do I manage this? Okay, I've not really found the perfect way to manage it, but I would say that one thing that I know I do is that when I'm not actively on one project, right, I am resting. I find time to rest, and in that resting season, I find out that I write more when I'm so. If you happen to bring a writing gig for me at that point, yeah, sure, I'll take it. So that's how I'm able to manage it, yeah. Okay. Plus, I do have, every year I have a vision board. So I have my seasons that, I just map out, okay, around this time, this is what I want to be doing. So
yeah, I feel like sometimes there's no perfect solution, but it's just constantly finding ways to tweak and ensure that, we fall in the right places. Yeah. One of the things you had mentioned earlier is that, what you're really passionate about is writing stories that speak to societal issues. Yeah. And I saw one of your short animated stories. It's called Finding Home.
Yeah.
I thought it was, it's so short, but it's so impactful.
Thank you.
And for people who haven't seen Finding Home, it's really short, so it actually won't take up, I think it's a minute something.
Yeah.
It's a story about the impact water pollution has on ocean life and creatures in the sea.
Yeah.
And when I watched it, I was like, because it's so short, I feel like it's the kind of piece that children should be seeing. Mm-hmm. Because even as an adult and as a child, I can imagine how children will say, oh, because it sticks with children more, Yeah. So I don't know. I just wanted to tell you that I saw that and I was like, I don't even know maybe if it's in schools, whatever the case may be, it's the kind of message that children need to be aware of, because it's about starting them young so that they become more aware about the issue of climate change and stuff. Yeah. And just to kind of go all serious.
Yeah.
Because that's what the movie Finding Home is about.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think when you hear people say climate change is not real?
For me, I would say climate change is real. First of all, I'm a scientist. So yeah, I would say it's real. And second of all, I've lived in a part of Nigeria where even till date, they're still battling that. I studied in Uniport. So in Port Harcourt, there's a lot of industrial activities there because they have refinery. They have their they're an oil producing state. So they have refineries and all that. So I remember writing an article on Pulse, right, about the blacks. We used to call it black suits, but it's suits, the suit situation. Now it's even worse, I hear. But then when it started, obviously because of the activities of burning fuel and all that, there was soot in the air. People would get sick. You sweep your house, under your feet, everywhere,
It's
charcoal.
black, yeah.
So I didn't know what to do at that point in time. The only gift I had was to just write. So I published this article on Pulse. Then I was in this Pulse bloggers community. So I know climate change is real because it's human action, right? And inactions too that causes it. So, and because of we live in a society where we consume, right? We don't think about recycling things. Oh, thankfully these days I think we are trying to embrace that culture. But climate change is real because for people who say it's not real, it's real because look at what is happening in other parts of the world. We're so blessed in Nigeria and in Africa that we don't have these natural disasters, right? But if you look at what is happening recently with the flooding situation in Nigeria, that tells you that almost something is happening that we're not aware of. So I feel like people need to be very aware of it and people need to take action. The little you can do, that plastic, that you can just take to a recycled company. As a matter of fact, someone should build an app. Maybe I'm giving out this idea, but someone should actually, think of how to, make it techy because we're living in an advanced society. So maybe build an app that people can collect their recycle, like send out their materials and then you can recycle it. But either way, what I'm trying to say is climate change is real. People need to be more aware of it and people need to take action. And people need to understand that if, as a society, we just wake up and live and just do as we please, there's a way. God created the earth, right? And he puts in everything that we need to survive in it, right? But it is still our actions that will determine how long or how well this earth, would be at the end of the day. Yeah, fine. There are false information out there about it. People try to put fear and hysteria out there, but people should really know that it's a problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah. I think, first of all, it's interesting and cool that, you're a scientist and you're saying that God created the earth. Lots of scientists believe that's evolution.
Right.
That's the first thing, right?
No, I believe in God.
Yeah. No, if you don't, like, that's your but I'm just like, I think sometimes, a lot of times we never really see scientists that, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody has whatever they believe in. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is that, what was the other? For people who don't believe that climate change or global warming is real, Lagos is so hot. It has gotten hotter.
The heat is getting worse.
I don't even know if it's worse. It's worse. Like you leave your house, the kind of heat that just slaps you, Yeah. So I don't know, like you said, even the flooding, there's so much going on in the world and even in where we live. So it's something for us to be more attentive about. But thank you for sharing that insight. I just wanted to talk to you about that. Our sponsor for this episode is Notam Expertise Nigeria, a promotional communication firm that provides an extensive and innovative range of promotional product procurement services across gaming platforms, financial service institutions, oil and gas, FMCGs, telecommunications, high net worth individuals, among so many others. They are a team of professionals driven by integrity and are committed to activating innovative ideas that guarantee the success of your brand. Some of the materials that they offer printing production services for include t-shirts, face caps, pens, umbrellas, drinkware, and so much more. To find out more about how Notam Expertise Nigeria can help you achieve your custom promotional product needs, call them on 0803 257 7980. You can also find them on Instagram at Notam Expertise. That is NOTAMEXPERTUS. Now let's talk about your movie Crossline, which was my introduction to your work. And for the movie Crossline, you were a co-writer and you were a line producer. Can you share what Crossline is about and what inspired the movie?
So Crossline, like I always say, is the gift that keeps giving for me. Because, and I say this because the first ever short film I made that I had to work, with a large team. It doesn't mean I've not made short films. I've made, there's another of my short film that is called Anywhere But Home. Yeah, it's a very short film. I put animation, and it's live action and animation. So yeah. But Crossline was the first short film that I worked with like a real team. I had to team up with some other young budding filmmakers to make. And the fact that it was in competition too, and we had to make it within a period of time, so that we don't miss the competition window and all that. So yeah, Crossline was a film that, was inspired first of all from the NSAS period in Nigeria. This was 2020. Young people coming out to talk about the injustice in the police force, the SARS brutalizing and bullying people, young people. So at that time, we wanted to tell a story that, mirrored the truth in our society in regards to police brutality. So Crossline was born out of that. I had to work with a team of, other, like I said, budding filmmakers. We're grouped because I had the most experience, right? In the sense that then I was working with the production house as a copywriter and production manager. So I had more experience than most of the guys on my team. So I had to be at the forefront of it as the line producer. So co-writing it, I had to also work with other people to write the story. So the story was inspired from the tweets that one young lady made. I've forgotten her name, but, her boyfriend had been killed by police stray bullet, and she had come to talk about that issue. So we got inspired from that story and wanted to tell it from that angle. So we chose that angle to tell the story. And interestingly, we were one of the winning teams because there were two teams. In fact, we were over 100 people in that program, Home Vida, training program. So they grouped us into groups, of 10. So 10 people in 10 groups. So out of 10 groups, each group pitched their story. So Crossline and another group, our stories were picked. So they went on to give us money to now make the film. So we were funded, for the film. We made the film. And then these two films now had to compete for the best. So Crossline came tops. So we won the 1 million naira prize. And it was my first time. I mean, like I said, I was just working in a production company. I said, okay, where we do TV advertising, And I said, okay, let me just try film. And then I wrote this script with some group of people I'd never met. Like we worked virtually, most of us, because this was in the height of COVID. So even the training was online. I met, we had series of meetings online before on the day of shoots. I started meeting some of my, team members. So yeah, it was a very challenging, but very new situation for me because I'd never produced the film. I'd never, seen my work like film that I wrote be on screen, and to even go on to win the overall prize, like it was mind-blowing. He showed me the possibility that, that there was to me and my craft. So yeah.
That's amazing. And when I saw the movie at the film screening like a couple of weeks ago, I was going to, because remember, I don't know if you remember, they said, does anybody have any questions for the filmmakers? Yeah. And I wanted to ask this question, but this is me. Ella, I was manifesting our conversation. I said that I'm going to save this question for Ella when I get to interview her.
Yeah.
So here I am. Yeah. Because my question is, why, and I'm not giving anything away, but why did the story have the ending that it did? Because for a lot of people in Nigeria that have had experience with, that have had both NSARS and just police brutality, they haven't been able to recover from these situations. So when I was watching it, I was like,
So why we chose that ending? So because personally, the way when we wrote the first draft, we wanted to leave it as an open ending. In fact, the story changed a lot, from the inception. What we had then was that the baby survived and the woman didn't like the child because the child reminded her of what she lost, in the hands of police. So, but we went with that direction because, like I said, it was in competition, right? And one of the theme was, Nigeria, new hope for Nigeria or something. So we wanted to tell the story that mirrors the present day, things that goes on in our society, but something that people would watch and, they would have hope in Nigeria. So wanted a new Nigeria. It was also manifesting the kind of Nigeria we want, you get. So yeah, that's why we chose that ending. We didn't want to leave people feeling sad and all and hopeless. Plus, we also wanted to train mental health. I'm a very big advocate for mental health. Yeah, it's just interesting that my 2 winning films are, they have that topic there. I'm just noticing.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was it for us. We wanted to go that direction, and it's because we wanted people to know that it's possible with good governance. There could be changes in our society. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Because that one of my comments at the film screening was like, I love the fact that you had therapy in the movie, because a lot of times I'm not against prayer or whatever, but sometimes there are issues that you want to speak to a professional. Nobody's saying you should not pray. Pray your prayer. There are things that I'm praying to God for right now, but I'm, So I just thought that was super amazing.
Thank
now,
you.
as we wrap up the conversation, what advice do you have for people who are looking to get into filmmaking or who are passionate about filmmaking?
To be honest, there's never the right time to start. That's one thing I know for sure. You can start anytime, you can start at any age. And one other thing I want to say is that even though it might look like no one is paying attention, just keep being excellent. Like, always go for excellence. No one is paying attention right now, but one day someone is going to see that work that you're doing and they'll pick interest. And all it takes is one person. Like I said, someone saw my writing somewhere and they commended it, and that even made me see more value in my work. You might not have that figure right now that is seeing your work, that has seen your work to tell you, oh, you have this gift, oh, you're skilled. But the fact that you have that gift, first of all, you have to use it in the sense that you have to do it. Just write. If it's writing, you're writing, just write. If it's singing, you're singing, just sing. Always think of how to do it the best way you can. Whenever you're given a chance, don't say, okay, I'm just going to do it halfway or just do it shabbily. No, give your best. It might look like no one is watching, but someday someone will see that work. And in Nigeria, it's just sad that a lot of creatives don't make money at first. Money shouldn't even be the motivation at first. Just start it first. And, with consistency, with practice, with learning and relearning and unlearning, you will get there. And, as I say, the sky is the starting point. So, yeah, just do it, as Nike says.
I love it, Ella. That's really good. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So for people, particularly filmmakers who want to, let me use my own personal experience. If you want to start as a filmmaker, I feel like the best place to start is to look out for film festivals that you can attend. First of all, in your first year, you can attend as a guest, just to come and experience it. Just like this GT Fashion Week, just go have the experience of it. The next time you're going, you might just, they do these master classes. Most of these festivals, film festivals, they do these master classes. You could actually apply for it, but most of the time they want to see that you've done something. So don't even wait to have like that big production budget. My first ever film that I shot was on my phone. It was a 1-minute video that I had shot to apply for this Access Back Accelerate Filmmaker project in 2019. So it was shot on my phone. So don't even wait to have the perfect equipment. Just start with what you have. Start small and get big. So that's just it. That's one thing I want to say. So go to festivals. Google is your friend. Try as much as possible when you get to festival. Try to meet people, talk to people, exchange contacts, try to stay in touch. And don't always be in the habit of shooting DMs to producers. Most times the best collaborations are collaborations with people on your level. So before you get all up there, just start with the people around you. The first film I did, my brother was my cast. My friend in my street that had a barber, he was the one that held the camera, So just start with what you have, really. You don't even know what you have yet until you start doing something. So, yeah.
Very well said. It's that whole point that Issa Rae said. I don't know if you've seen that video, that popular video that she says that she networks across levels with people that are, trying to do the same thing that she's doing as opposed to networking upward.
Yeah.
So very wise words, Ella. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to go on to the fun, random questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
See, Ella, I love guests like I love guests. No, it's fine. I love guests like you, make me so excited. Thank you. All right. first question is, which of the following movies would you choose? So the options are Troy, X-Men, or Transformers.
These are like 3 movies I love.
I did my research.
My childhood was these movies. I would say Transformers.
You know what? We're gonna be friends.
I
I know. Like seriously, it's that's awesome. Okay, cool. Second question is, as a self-described chronic bibliophile, what was the last book you read? Or maybe it's, what book are you currently reading?
So I was at Jazz Hall the other day to do recce for a documentary I'm filming. So I walked into that bookstore. In my life, I'd never been there. Jazz Hall is somewhere around Ikoyi.
Yeah, I need to go. I've never been there as well.
Yeah, it's such a magnificent place. You know, books, you see vinyls, records, and all that. So, you know, bougie. And so I walk in there and I was amazed. I'd gone there to see the owner of the shop, to talk to her, that I would like to film in her space. But when I walked in, I was like, oh my God, this is me. You know, recall that back, you know, in this interview earlier on, I said, you know, I grew up in a house where we were taught to read. My dad had, I don't know if I mentioned it, but my dad had a very big library. So we had books. We had this Hamlet's, you know, books, Shakespeare's book, the very first edition. We had those, you know, with all those hats, thou English, you know.
Yeah, my mother would get along.
Yeah. So, so I'd walk into that space, and after speaking to the woman, I just could not live without buying a book. There's just something that holding hardcover back book does to me. So I picked up My Sister, the Serial Killer by Onyeka Braithwaite. Okay. So that's my current read right now.
Okay, I've seen that book around. Okay, when you read, let me know if I should.
It's a bestseller, and I think I met Onyeka Braithwaite at Ake Festival in 2019. She was in Nigeria. Yeah, so that was the first time I, you know, saw her or encountered her work, and I wanted to buy that book there, but I didn't have so much money then. I was still upcoming.
Don't worry, we're all upcoming. I don't even get money. I'm looking for money. So right. Okay, that's cool. Third question is, what 3 countries would you love to visit?
Thank you very much. I love to travel. It's like, you know me, you did your homework. Yeah, but for real, I love to go, you know, to countries that have beach areas where, you know, water, sea, the waves, the wind, everything is just so iconic. Oh my God, I can see myself there right now. But yeah, I'd love to go to Cape Town. Let me just say Cape Town, because I hear the golden hour, which is when the sun comes down, is so beautiful to witness there. So I'd like to go to Cape Town in South Africa. I'd also like to go to Paris. I used to have a fantasy about maybe having my proposal there.
From your lips to God's ears.
Amen. You know? Yeah, so Paris, I want to see that Eiffel Tower. And I also want to visit Canada. Yeah.
Fourth question is, which of the following screenwriters would you love to work with? The options are Shonda Rhimes, Jordan Peele, or Ava DuVernay.
Oh my God, the first one.
Shonda
Rhimes. Oh my God.
Why?
She's my icon. Oh my God. That woman's story is so inspiring. You know, for someone who wants to not just tell stories, but tell stories about, you know, the least talked about things in society, stories, you know, that cuts across races and all that, you know, just doing the hard work, really. Like, she's someone I really look up to. And Shonda Rhimes' work is something that when you see, just know this is Rhimes, you know. She's just good at her craft. She's a master storyteller.
Final question. What are 2 things that you know for sure about life?
Okay, number 1, no condition is permanent. It might look like, you know, right now you're in that phase of your life where nothing is working, right? Don't give up. Don't give up, really. I say this because now who give up lose. Do you understand? So just if you have that mindset, because I have that mindset, no matter how bad it is right now, it cannot always be bad. Do you understand? So no condition is permanent. I know for sure. Number 2, I know that excellence would always sell you faster than kissing us would. Yeah, so just be excellent at what you do.
You know, but it's funny. I feel like there are people that they prefer kissing us, and you know, they prefer you to kiss us. But I love those. Those are really good, and those are true. You know, so that's cool. Ella,
because do you know why I say that? Because You could kiss ass and get into the room, right? Kissing ass might get you into the room, but it won't keep you in the room. But if you're excellent at what you do, even though you miss this opportunity, that's not the only opportunity in the world. So one day, because people want excellent work, it will never go out of fashion. So just be excellent, and you would see that, you're going places. It might take a while, but you'll get there.
In the words of you being a poet, snaps. Rema. Exactly, right? Ella, it has been a pleasure speaking with you.
You too, Sade.
Is there anything that you'd like to share or promote before we wrap up our conversation?
I just recently registered my own production company. It's called Flight Grade Media.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So please follow us on Instagram and look out for us on YouTube, because we have amazing content coming out from next year by the grace of God. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was also going to ask you, if people want to keep up with the work that you're doing on social media, how can they follow you? Can you give your social media handles?
Okay. So I am on my Instagram. My own personal Instagram is at Ella Chikezie. ELLACHIKEZIE, and my business, which is my production company, is Fly Grade Media, FLYGRADE and media. Yeah. So just follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube.
That's awesome. Ella, it has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sade. It's been an honor.
Really? You make my heart sing. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you to Ella Chikezie. You can find out more about her work on Instagram and Twitter. She is at Ella Chikezie. If you enjoyed this episode, I would appreciate you taking a few minutes to rate us on your favorite podcast platform. It helps the podcast get discovered by more people. Thank you so much in advance. This episode is produced, edited, and mixed by Folashade Anozie. Thank you to our sponsor, Notam Expertus Nigeria. The show is powered by Nonconform Productions, and our theme song is by John Akinola. You can check out the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TheSNCPodcast. Thank you for listening.